Whatever you're into when it comes to sports, you can find it right here. Now, play my intro. Now it's time for the Robb Johnson Sports Show, presented by Robb Johnson Media and the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Robb Johnson Sports Show. Another episode of the Robb Johnson Sports Show here on Robb Johnson Media and the Legacy Maker Sports Network. I am your host, Robb Johnson. Welcome to the best show, Internet Today Sports Show. So you guys also check out the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Check out Legacy on Fire. Check out all the great shows that we have for you, not only on Robb Johnson Media, but also here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. I'm your host, Robb Johnson, and we're going to talk some NFL first to start off this show today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk some NFL, and we're going to talk about the AFC, as you can hear the storms outside. We're going to talk about the AFC. We're going to talk about the AFC East. I'm sorry, the AFC North and the AFC West. As I get my background back here, let me see. Put that up there for you. The Robb Johnson Sports Show. We're going to talk some NFL. So let's talk NFL. We're going to start with the NFC North. Okay, so the NFC North is probably one of the more interesting divisions that you can think of. And the reason it's the most interesting division is because not only do you have a situation where you have 40, almost 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, who has come back to Pittsburgh, but then you also have conundrums at other spots in the AFC North. Let me explain. First, you got Lamar Jackson, who has not signed his extension, and he has not signed for the multiple years the Ravens have expected him to. After Harbaugh left and went to New York, a lot of people figured that Lamar wanted Harbaugh out and wanted a new direction. Do we know that? Will we ever know that? I don't know. It kind of leans towards it, but again, I don't want to speculate because, sometimes speculation can be the worst thing when it comes to this journalism thing. But what we do know is that Baltimore has a window. That window could soon be closing if Lamar Jackson, especially if he no longer wants to be there. Plus, he's for a second. I'm sorry, the signal got lost. I apologize. It feels like this could be maybe if Lamar were to sign, maybe a 3 or 4 year window until he would go somewhere else, play somewhere else. But Lamar is still fast, still has a great arm, still has really good receivers. I am a fan of Lamar Jackson. I think that he will have a really good 2026-27 campaign. Again, you can find me, Robb Johnson, on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, Facebook, YouTube, and also the Robb Johnson Media page. Not my regular Facebook page with Robb Johnson, but the Robb Johnson Media page, and on my YouTube as well. As I go to that, make sure I'm live on that, because for some reason my regular page that has the big followers will never ever go live for whatever reason. So Lamar, that's big for him going to that. Now, what Lamar did lose was he lost Todd Monken. Todd Monken, who actually has gone to the Cleveland Browns. I feel, and this is just me, I feel that Deshaun Watson is going to have a bounce back year under a Todd Monken. That is just what I believe. That's what I think. I know a lot of people will be like, "Hey, I don't really know if that's a situation where I feel that Lamar Jackson will have that big of a year." I do. I think Lamar will have an excellent year, as I'm getting ready to share this on my page. I think Lamar is going to have an absolute great year for the Cleveland Browns as long as he can stay healthy, and that's just how I feel about that. And the reason I say that is because of Todd Monken, because I feel like that they'll have the ability to have a better offense. Sometimes, folks, it depends on who is running the offense. And the last couple of years, even though you had a coach in Cleveland who had won Coach of the Year a couple of times, sometimes the fit of the quarterback and the coach just don't fit. I feel like Deshaun Watson was having a great year a couple of years back before he got hurt in that Baltimore game. I feel like with the offseason to get healthy, I think that he'll be decent. Do I think that Deshaun Watson will lead them to the playoffs? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say Cleveland will go back to the playoffs, but what I will say is that they'll be competitive. That defense, even though they lose one of the great players one of the great players that have ever played defense, you know, it's going to be difficult to replace that when you have the all-time sacks leader, but and Myles Garrett, but you get back Jared Verse, and I keep telling folks, man, Jared Verse, I believe working with Aaron Donald, the time that he worked with Aaron Donald will actually help him. It will help his motor. I love Jared Verse's motor. I watched him when he was at Florida State. I watched a lot of him when he was, like I said, his early years. I feel like he is a player that will really be good for Cleveland. He could be explosive. He's a younger guy. So yeah, Cleveland got back a lot of picks. So I think Cleveland did a good job in that aspect. I'm going to go back to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, you're talking about 41, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, the turnover from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy. I actually think the Steelers can have a decent year. I think that the change in direction, the change in voice, the change in philosophy will help this team. Do I think that Aaron Rodgers will have a big year? I actually don't. I think he'll have a decent year. I think the thing that bothers me about Pittsburgh is you had Russell Wilson had a decent playoff game against Baltimore, and then, of course, we know that this Texans defense that Aaron Rodgers faced was tougher than Baltimore, but Russell Wilson still had a really big year. He had a decent year with Pittsburgh. He had a good playoff game, I believe, it was 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's when George Pickens was there. But when you look at Pittsburgh from a development standpoint, it is a very concerning thing when you look at Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is the type of team where they have not been able to develop a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger. Even before Roethlisberger was there, you had Tommy Maddox, but it was very hard for them to develop that quarterback. They had Cordell Stewart. They hit lightning in the bottle after coming out of Colorado, etc. But when I look at this Pittsburgh team, I feel like that after this year, they're going to be a quarterback away from possibly maybe getting to the second round and stuff like that. Pittsburgh's not ready. I think they'll be decent. They have decent, really good receivers. They did some good things in free agency. But the thing is, if Aaron Rodgers can't stay upright, then what are they going to do? Also, here's my problem with Pittsburgh. You have to get younger at the quarterback position. You have to. Because in this day and time, you need a guy that you can bring in, rely on, and build team camaraderie so you can be able to have that quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. That's how long quarterbacks are playing with the protection they're getting, etc. That's how long these quarterbacks are playing. So this is the thing. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, this needs to be Aaron Rodgers' final and last season in an NFL uniform. Now, if he were to lead them to prominence, hey, do your thing. Maybe bring him back for another year. But I feel like they're holding on to something that is already past and gone. They need to build. Now, I saved this team for last, and I did it for a reason. Okay. the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals have been telling us all off season that, man, our defense is better. We're better. The offense is going to come back stronger than ever. Joe Burrow, Jefferson, all these guys are going to come back stronger. Our running game is going to be better, blah, blah, blah. Here's the bottom line with the Bengals, folks, and I'm just going to keep it short. They got to start winning, and they got to start having success, because if they do not, I guarantee you, the Carson Palmer situation is going to happen all over again. Any Cincinnati Bengals fan knows what the Carson Palmer situation was, and it might be worse this time. Joe Burrow has some fault in this. Joe Burrow at times can be a little inconsistent, but overall, you can't blame Joe Burrow. He's been a great quarterback, and he'll be a great quarterback going forward. Lost in the Super Bowl. I believe they haven't been in the playoffs in the last 3, almost 4 years. It's been tough. They're still hanging their hat on the fact they beat Kansas City in Arrowhead. That's kind of a feather in their cap that I feel like they'll hold forever. We beat the Kansas City Chiefs on their home turf in the AFC Championship game. Good for you. You didn't win a championship. You didn't get it done. And since then, you've struggled. Injuries, not being able to stop anybody on defense. The offense at times being a little inconsistent. The time is ticking. And there are some situations. And here, probably in August, I'm going to give you a list. And you could pretty much say all the NFL, but we're talking about a realistic list of teams that Joe Burrow could possibly go to. I think there is a realistic list of 10 teams that legitimately could go after Joe Burrow and have him as their quarterback. Some already have established quarterbacks. Others don't. But I feel like there are teams that feel like, hey, we go get this guy, Joe Burrow. He could really lead us to the promised land. So this is big for the Cincinnati Bengals, because I don't feel that the AFC North is so daunting that you can't win the division. Now, we all know if Baltimore stays healthy and Lamar Jackson's doing his thing, they're winning the division. We all know this. There's no secret. There's no secret sauce in this. Come on now. We all know what the deal is. We all know what the deal is. If Baltimore stays healthy, if Lamar Jackson's healthy, and they play football the way we know they can play football, we know that the Baltimore Ravens will end up winning this division. Now, if Baltimore does what they did last year, you got a good possibility that things like that will not happen. So, if you're the Bengals, you gotta wish for some luck. If you're the Bengals, you gotta hope that the Baltimore Ravens completely fall on their face. Because if I'm the Bengals, I'm not really worried about Pittsburgh too much, because pretty much it's the same thing every year. Cincinnati plays Pittsburgh, it's a tough game. They'll sometimes split, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, man, at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about the Cincinnati Bengals or the Pittsburgh Steelers or Cleveland Browns. I think they'll all have decent years, but that is the Baltimore Ravens division to win. Now, could things change as we get to training camp, etc.? Sure. But we'll see what happens. We will definitely see what happens going forward. Now, to the AFC West. They actually ranked the quarterbacks in the AFC West. I'll read them off to you. Number 4, we have Kirk Cousins. Number 3, Justin Herbert. Number 2, Bo Nix. And number 1, Patrick Mahomes. For me right now, if you're asking me the standings of the quarterbacks today, I pretty much agree with that list. I would not put Bo Nix ahead of Patrick Mahomes, but Bo Nix is definitely ahead of Justin Herbert, especially after what we saw in the playoffs. Everyone knows that if Bo Nix does not go down with that ankle injury, the Denver Broncos are in the Super Bowl, and we possibly see a better game against the Seattle Seahawks. In fact, it'd be their second time facing off in the Super Bowl. Old AFC West rivals, I believe it would have been a better game. The Patriots, good team, but not as good as the Denver Broncos. Not as good. They don't have that defense. The Patriots defense, don't get me wrong, very good, but I feel like the Broncos is better. The offense, definitely, I feel like the Broncos' offense is better in a lot of ways. Now, the Patriots coming up this year are a better football team, but I still think the Broncos are a better team. Could the Broncos be my Super Bowl team out of AFC? You'll have to find out in August if that's going to be my team or not. But I really believe that this Broncos team has the possibility of doing some really, really good things coming up here. So we're going to watch the Broncos. As far as the Kansas City Chiefs go, their biggest thing is, yes, you get Patrick Mahomes back. Hopefully he's healthy. You get Walker, MVP, Super Bowl MVP from Seattle. Can he do some good things, or is he just going to fall by the wayside? Your receivers, they got to stay healthy. You lose Hollywood Brown, not too much of a big deal because he, in and out of the lineup last year. Can Rasheed Rice, can he stay on the field? Xavier Worthy, huge year for Xavier Worthy. He has to show his worth coming into the 26-27 season. Travis Kelce, when does he finally move on? Does he have a good season left in him, or is he just there to be there? He just got married. Congratulations to him. But it's all about football, so we're going to see what he can do when he gets into the season. So we've covered the Broncos. We've covered the Chiefs. Let's talk about the Raiders. You draft Mendoza number 1. We know Kirk Cousins is going to start. This has to be the year. Well, it's only his second season. Rookie year last year. But Ashton Jeanty, you've got to get him established. You drafted him high for a reason. Ashton Jeanty has to get established if you are the Las Vegas Raiders. You have to establish him. That defense has got to improve. So the running game and improving that defense is the biggest keys for this team, in my opinion, going into 26-27. The quarterback position, we already know that it's going to be Kirk Cousins, and it's going to be turned over to Mendoza later. Kirk Cousins, I feel like, has not gotten enough criticism. He got a $100 million contract too. Russell Wilson got a $100+ million contract, and they were just dogging on Russell. But hey, it's the thing about sports media and just media in general, folks, I think you all need to understand, and I think that people are starting to get this. It's not really about how good you are. It's about how popular you are. People think that Russell Wilson's corny and that Kirk Cousins is a cool dude because, he's in Minnesota, wearing the chains and, the fake, the grills and all that. And, it just, Kirk Cousins has really struggled over the years. So this is good in a way to be a bridge quarterback. I just wish that Kirk Cousins would have got the same criticism that Russell Wilson got, but that is neither here nor there. Now, the Raiders, I feel, are going to have a decent season. Not a great season. They will be in position to draft Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver out of Ohio State. They will be in position. I don't think they'll win many games, but I feel like this team, this organization is on the right path. You're going to have going into the 2027 season, you're going to have the receivers. You're going to have the tight end. You're going to have the running back. This team is starting to fill out. Could you possibly call this team a Indianapolis Colts from the late 90s with Peyton Manning crew? Possibly you could. I don't know. We're going to see what happens in the draft in 2027. We'll see what happens with Mendoza. Does Mendoza have to go in earlier? Can he get some playing time? We'll have to see. But what I'm saying to you guys is this. This team, if everything aligns the way I feel like it's going to align after next year's draft and into free agency, this could be a very dangerous team. Not next year. They'll start to build up. But in the next 3 to 4 years, you could be seeing the old school Raiders returning. Even though it's a little different because they're not in Oakland anymore and they don't have that mystique of Oakland. They're still the Raiders. They're still the black and gold. So we will definitely see that. The Chargers. What I'll say about the Chargers is this. I've heard every excuse known to man. Justin Herbert's offensive line, his weapons, blah, blah, blah. I feel like the Chargers have fixed that situation. I feel like the Chargers have made a conscious effort to make sure that, or try to make sure that Justin Herbert gets protected, whether it be the draft, whether it be some parts of free agency, whether it be returning players who were hurt last year. The Chargers have to win a playoff game. Eventually, the Chargers are going to have to win a playoff game, and the excuses for Justin Herbert's going to stop. And I have to stop. Now, is he another Matthew Stafford? I'll say this. Matthew Stafford's probably one of the most talented quarterbacks I've seen coming out of college when he played at Georgia. So, we'll see. We will definitely see. But do I think that Justin Herbert is as talented as a Matthew Stafford? I do. Do I think he has the mental toughness and fortitude? Yeah. Do I think overall who's the better, more a talented quarterback? I'd probably give it to Matthew Stafford. And you got to look at the situations in Detroit and in Vegas and in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert's had the better teams than what Matthew Stafford had in Detroit. He's had the, let's be honest, he's had the better of the teams. That's just the truth. Even though Stafford had Calvin Johnson, he didn't have a lot of other parts. And he Justin Herbert has had the parts, I feel like, the running games, the receivers, the defenses at times. So you switch coaches. It was all the coach's fault. Can't say that now. Was be Justin Herbert's third coach. So eventually the excuses have to stop. But I don't think they will. I still think he is the golden boy of ESPN and most quarterback gurus and NFL aficionados around the world. So it's all good. We'll see what the Chargers do. But for right now, when I'm looking at the division, it is the Broncos' division to lose. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to a quick commercial break. We are going to take it to first, before we get to Latour's, let's check out Larry Patterson, Game Time Sports Network 365. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson. If it wants to play. Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Beautiful thing Larry Patterson, bringing the heat to you every single time. He wants to play. All right, let's try the Latour's commercial. Latour's, it starts from within. Nope.
Hey, I'm up here in the whirly bird. I'll bring over them.
Check out Game Time 365 Sports on the Game Time Sports Network. Larry Patterson, bringing the heat to you every single time.
Hey, I'm up here in the whirly bird. I'll bring over them. Positive total.
Come on, let's go. We gotta go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go ahead and let's see here. Let's talk WNBA standings. So, of course, you all know the WNBA on fire right now. It's been on fire all year. Been on fire It's been on fire for 30 years, in my opinion, but that's just how I feel. Let's go to the East. On the top spot, we have at 13-8, we got the Liberty, the Fever at number 2 at 12-8. We have the Dream at 12-9. The Mystics 10-9, who are they are actually in competition tonight. They're trying to get closer to that 3 seed. The Tempo 9-11, the Sky 6-14, and the Sun 4-16. Let's go to the West. The Lynx 15-5, the Aces 15-6, Valkyrie 14-7, the Wings 13-8, the Sparks 8-10, the Fire 9-12, the Mercury 8-13, and the Storm 5-17. Basically, right now, what we're looking at, the Sun and the Storm are basically fighting for that number 1 overall pick next year. That's just the bottom line. They're fighting for that number 1 pick. They are. I don't think anybody can deny that at this point. They're fighting for that spot. Let's go to the Major League Baseball scene here. On top of the AL East, we have the Rays. We have the White Sox on top of the Central. They're up basically a game on the Guardians. The Rays are up 4 games on the Yankees. The Mariners are up 1.5 on the Texas Rangers, who have been hot coming into this week. The Braves lead the Phillies by 3.5 games. The Phillies lost today, 15-1 to the Royals, which is crazy. The Brewers lead the Cubs by 6 games, 7.5 on the Cardinals, and the Dodgers are absolutely destroying the competition. Up 14 on the Diamondbacks, Padres, 21 on the Giants, and 22 on the Rockies. So, yeah, they are absolutely destroying their competition as we speak out there when it comes to those guys. Now, let's talk about Jaylen Brown. So Brad Stevens, who's the president, GM, whatever the hell you want to call him, came out today, made a statement. The statement made absolutely no sense whatsoever. You trade Jaylen Brown to the rival Philadelphia 76ers, the same Sixers who beat you in the playoffs. Mind you that, listen, same team that beat you in the playoffs. A team that has Maxey, has B.J. Etchcom, has Joel Embiid when he is on the court, but still very effective. And you bring in Jaylen Brown. For me, folks, I look at this in a way and say, if you're a guy like Joel Embiid, for example, this limits your excuses even more because you have an all-world player, a dude who damn near almost averaged 29 points per game. You have a guy who is going to be not only smart on the floor, off the floor, is going to do the right thing. And speaking of smart, it really bothered me how there were some GMs who reported that said, actually, this came out their mouth that Jaylen Brown was too intelligent or too smart to be in the NBA. That's why they kind of looked past him. That, to me, was very disrespectful. Why would you want somebody who's not mentally up to par as a guy like Jaylen Brown? I have my theories, but I'll leave that to you guys to kind of figure that out. But you have a guy, and let me say this as well. When you talk about Nico Harrison, when you talk about the Dallas Mavericks, this trade is as egregious and probably a little bit more. Because one thing about Jaylen Brown, Luka, before he got to LA and had to face LeBron, Jaylen Brown has always been in shape. Jaylen Brown's always been disciplined. Jaylen Brown plays defense. Luka does not. Luka was getting on the nerves of the organization. They probably didn't want to pay him that much money. Whatever, who knows? But you all knew, the Boston Celtics knew they had two big contracts, 200 plus million invested. I think it was 300 for Jaylen Brown, like 200 plus for Jason Tatum. You knew that was going to be a problem, and you chose Jason Tatum. But who knows where Jason Tatum is going to be when it comes back to getting back to who we know he can be? Because an Achilles is an Achilles, man, and it's devastating. It's a devastating injury. It makes some guys not be. It makes a lot of guys not look the same as what they were. So for you to choose Jason Tatum, to me, it felt a little personal. Jaylen Brown, even after his name was floated in the Giannis talks, did not want to get traded. And the best you could do is get Paul George a couple first round picks in a couple of seconds, who we don't even know what those picks are going to turn into. So Brad Stevens, you better be damn sure that those picks are going to lead to something. You better be sure that those picks are going to turn into something great. Because if they don't, like I said, I feel like that he needs to be fired. Now, when you look at the Boston Celtics, there are rumors that Danny Ainge maybe had shopped Jaylen Brown a little bit when he was there, but we don't know that. I can't confirm that. One thing I can confirm is that Brad Stevens has egg on his face. And if you go back and listen to his press conference, which I won't play it here, if you go back and listen to his press conference today, he just fumbled around the question. Didn't answer the question all the way. It is what it is. But if you are going to make that type of trade, again, man, you better be daggone sure that it's the right trade. Because the Celtics just got worse, and the Philadelphia 76ers just became a contender to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, which I don't think will matter too much because the East has gotten so much better, but you still have to put the Knicks on top. The Raptors are better, with Kawhi now. You look at the Pacers are going to be back. You look at all these teams in the East, even Miami. You never know how good Miami is going to be. So we'll see how that goes. Now, let's go to the top 25 teams. This was actually put out. This was actually some predictions of who the top 25 teams in the state of Virginia are. So at number 25, Heritage. 24, Woodbridge. 23, Phoebus. Phoebus usually on top. They lost their coach, so we'll see. But Phoebus is still going to be a tough team, so don't sleep on the Phoebus Phantoms, please. Number 22, Jefferson Forest. 21, Indian River. 20, Woodbury Forest. 19, Heritage out of Lynchburg. 18, Lake Braddock. 17, Kings Fork. 16, St. Christopher School. And number 15, Huguenot. Watch Huguenot. Watch Huguenot, because they could be that team that could knock Verona off. I don't think they will. I'm just saying, watch Huguenot. Oh, So yeah, yeah, the power went out. The power went out, and you know what's funny? It's not funny because I'm right by this freaking window. You know what's funny about this whole situation? As I'm sitting here talking to you all, the USA almost scores a goal, and I'm like, goal, and then the power goes out. The power goes out. I'm like, this is what we're doing. I turn my hotspot on for a second, blah blah blah. We're in the actual hell. All right, so we keep buffering, guys. Let's get this thing over with. So I was talking about Huguenot. Huguenot, I think is going to be very competitive this year. They got a lot of players, some D1 players, so watch out for them. At 14, Liberty Christian. Number 13, Trinity, Virginia. Number 12, North Stafford. 11, listen, Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's going to be good again this year. Number 9, Riverbend. Riverbend has continued to get better out of Fredericksburg. Nice school, by the way. I was down there at the state championships a couple years. I believe, was it Stafford? Yeah, I believe it was Stafford. It was Stafford. Number 8, Colonial Forge. Number 7, Stonebridge. Number 6, Benedictine. Number 5, Highland Springs. Number 4, Oscar Smith. Number 3, the Verona Blue Devils. Number 2, Moore. And number 1, the not only Virginia power, but the national power, the St. James Academy. Tell me, man, they you talking about a national schedule that's gonna be tough. Have a tough schedule, but that's St. looks like they're the new power in the state of Virginia. Let's get this commercial break. Latoris, it starts from within. See work tonight. Absolutely nothing wants to work tonight. It's crazy, man. Technology is a beautiful thing, I tell you, boy.